Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Cosmic Mother. I am here with Ileana, the Star Traveler. She is a certified crystal healer, a teacher, a Reiki practitioner, a shamanic practitioner, a sound healer, and an intuitive, and also the host of Awakening Cosmic Reality Show. Welcome, Ileana.
Thank you so much, Adrianna. It's nice to meet you. How are you?
Yes, so great to meet you. I'm doing amazing. I'm just incredibly grateful and honored to have you on the show and to just be able to see what comes through. I'm really trusting spirit and what comes through, what the collective and those watching get to hear and receive today.
Me as well. I was just, we were just starting to talk about how you're transitioning to being a vegetarian and no longer eating meat, and how you're drinking water. And are you fasting as well?
I was fasting, and it's so interesting. I mentioned this a little bit earlier that like for this interview particularly, spirit was really preparing me to have this interview, and I almost got the sense that it was my body was and my frequency was being raised to a certain level to be able to to receive the transmissions that come through today. And yeah, it was just a lot different. I was being guided to, like, okay, no meat for the last 3 days because it takes 72 hours once you eat meat for that energy to release out of the body. And so they were like, no meat, lots of water, essential oils, just like this whole, I was connected to a high council, and it was just really interesting that that came through for this interview.
Yeah, and I was having something interesting come in just like 40 minutes before we were set to do the interview. I had a question come in from someone, and they were asking me, how do you live in your own authentic self? How do you be your own authentic self? How do you tell your truth to others and yourself? And I said, just be you. Just be your authentic, true you in who you want to be and what you want to be. We have free will sovereignty, free will choice on this planet. Most people think we don't, but we do. It's 3D, 4D reality that we live in. We could be whoever we want to be. We can eat whatever we want to eat. We can look like whoever we want to look like. We can change our looks. We have the sovereignty and free will to choose our own desires, to follow our creativity, our passions, our work life. We can choose anything we want to be and how we want to be. And if we don't like something, we can change it. Free will choice allows us to change our reality. We don't have to be stuck in the matrix. If you're not happy with something, change it. Just check in with your inner self to see who you want to be, to see who the real you is. And I'm always honest with people about who I am. And if they don't like that, they don't have to be around me or need to be around me. I don't hold anybody to me who doesn't share similar frequencies. If they're too different from me, I accept people's differences. Gender doesn't matter to me. I'm fluid in accepting people as they are. And differences to me are not an issue. Differences and similarities is what makes us unique and individual and special.
So that's so beautiful.
So that's what I was sort of talking about. And people also asked me, am I happy with my looks, how I look? And I said, well, I'm in a 5'5" body. I'm blonde. I do dye my hair blonder because I have dirty blonde. So I dye it just out of the box, simplistic blonde. That's it. Nothing special. I don't wear makeup. Sometimes I can, but I choose to be just organic. And I'm comfortable being without makeup, people seeing me this way. And I don't hide this look. This is just me. In past lives, I used to be 16 feet tall with blonde or white hair. I was Pleiadian Andromedan females in 16-foot bodies with blue skin. So my look was a lot more glamorous. It was beautiful, like a glamazon. But I don't worry about this and that about that lifetime in this lifetime. I don't need to emulate that look. I don't need to emulate being a galactic ET because I'm in this humanoid body right now. So I'm good with it. Sometimes I wish I was taller and stronger, but I was born in this body, so I appreciate it for it.
Yes. Yes, I love that. I saw I when you were describing yourself in that past lifetime, I saw you at that. It just yeah, just it's so it's just I love that this message of accepting who we are and being grounded in this body because we are living in this reality, and to really be grounded in that and accepting of who we are and that self love that we all it starts with us, right? Like when we love ourselves so deeply, we're available to not only receive love but to give that to other people, and I just think that's such a beautiful message of authenticity, and I love that.
Yeah, and I believe that we should be inclusive of anyone who wants to be their true self. I know all these things have been coming up about swimmers and sports and stuff, that they've changed genders and now they're part of another team and that they're stronger. But I honestly think inclusivity is important. If that person has changed their lifestyle and their reality and they're in a new body now, they should be allowed to participate in those sports. There's been a lot of different chats, whether that's right or wrong. I don't think it's right or wrong. I think it's just what that person needs to be to feel comfortable. And some people have been saying that that person switched genders just to have a better chance at winning. I don't think it's that at all, because that person is literally having different hormones now. They've lost some strength in their body. They look differently because that's how they feel as the new person that they are in a different gender. And if that makes them feel comfortable, and we should welcome that, because we should be open-minded towards change, because change what makes things better in the world, not worse.
Yes. Oh, that's so beautiful. I just feel like you're anchoring this higher frequency onto the planet with this transmission, because being able to accept others for who they are is so incredibly powerful, and it's just I just feel like it's like anchoring this higher frequency onto the planet, and I love that, and I completely agree with you. We got to be accepting of every, because we are all one at the end of the day, right? We all underneath this suit that we come in with, we are all a soul and a spirit, and so beautiful. Thank you so much for bringing that and anchoring that into the planet. It's beautiful.
And we're in a time of light change where gender doesn't really matter anymore. It's very fluid. You can be male, female, in between, something different, and you can change your gender. There's no boundaries about changing gender these days. We're not living in the feudal era or the Middle Ages. So we're changing ideas about genders. People could be male, female, androgynous. They can change gender if they want. They could be binary. They can be anything they want. They don't have to be stuck as what they were born, but that's not what their soul feels like. If they feel like something else, that's not a chemical imbalance. I don't think that's a soul desire to be their true selves. Sometimes we're born in the wrong body. We're a different gender, and I'm accepting of that. I don't believe that people should be told not to be their own selves. If you feel you need to be somebody other than what you see in the mirror, you're free to choose to change your life and be what you need to be happy. There shouldn't be these limits on genders and pluralities and labels. If a person feels a certain way and they know who they are, they have the right to be that person.
I completely agree, 100%. And that I have a question. I'm wondering if, I think I've read before, and I don't know how accurate this is, but I love your insight. When we have been in past lifetimes a gender for a long period of time, like say we were a male a majority of the time, when we come in as a female body, can that play a role in terms of like gender preference?
Yes, it can. Yeah. I'm in a female body, but I embody male energy more than female energy. In this particular body, my energy is just very fiery masculine in this lifetime. But I've always been strong in just being myself as a soul. So it can play a role. I've had equal male and female bodies in past lives. And I've never had gender dysphoria. What I did feel uncomfortable with was having a uterus and a cervix in this female body. Because in the female galactic bodies, as ETs, as Andromedans and Pleiadians, they didn't have periods. They didn't have even the same type of uterus or a cervix, really. They could have kids without having a period and bleeding monthly. So I was very uncomfortable with that in this lifetime. And emotionally and physically, this did cause me some damage, to be honest. And for medical reasons, I actually got a hysterectomy because my hormones weren't balanced correctly. And I tried to heal this naturopathically with herbs and stuff and remedies, but nothing worked really completely because I was not happy on a soul level with what was in my body. And once the uterus and the cervix were gone and the periods were gone and the heavy bleeding was gone, I just miraculously felt happy and joyous. It's like I'm in my true authentic body. I'm great this way, and I never wanted to have kids. I knew when I was 18 that that wasn't for me in this lifetime. But even my soulmates and twin flames weren't in this particular lifetime. They weren't born in this timeline, in this current time on Earth. So I even knew that, and I was like, I'm okay if I find somebody that I like to be with. That's great if I meet somebody, but if I don't worry about those things. I just live my life to my fullest happiness, just the way I am. Whether I'm with somebody or by myself, that doesn't matter to me. I'm happy just being me.
Yeah, that's so powerful, because I think it's so important that we, as humans, understand that we get to choose happiness, and it's not something that's outside of ourselves. Like, and you brought up a good point earlier too, that we can literally be anything and anybody that we want to be in this lifetime. And when it's authentic and true to ourselves, like that's, where we create that happiness that reflects. And, it's like as within, so without.
Yeah, and sometimes in my past lives, I had abilities to shapeshift and become different beings and people. Could be male or female, because I had a pure light body, and I can select what corporeal body I wanted to shift that energetic frequency into and be temporarily, then dissolve the physical body and just be my light body. So for me, remembering that, I can put on makeup and look totally different. I can put a wig on and look totally different. I can dye my hair slightly different and look completely different. And I do. People have asked me, they've said in sessions, they've said to me, you're not the same person. I don't recognize that person with that makeup. They're like, you don't look like Ileana. I'm like, well, because I had fake lashes on. I had temporary hair color in my hair, pink or blue or purple. I've been known to dye the tips. I've been known to have shorter, longer hair. Sometimes I even wear wigs because I like to play with my looks. So yes, I do look very different without makeup. And some people are like, you're not the same person. You're not Ileana. I'm like, yes, I am. I'm able to do different looks. And I don't change my eye color. I don't put lenses on, but sometimes my eye color changes itself because I have green blue eyes. So with different lighting and just the environment, my eyes change color. Sometimes they're blue, sometimes they're green, sometimes they're aqua, both. So it's like people have asked me, do you put lenses on to change your eye color? No, I don't. It's just in different light, it looks different. So I'm just able to sort of naturally shapeshift my looks just with whatever tools I have available in front of me to work with: makeup, lighting, skincare products, natural skincare products. And I only use moisturizer and a bit of concealer, but I don't put a whole lot of makeup on myself ever, because I'm good with being the way I am. But I can change my looks and modulate them. So for me, I don't have a problem with that. I could be wherever I want to be, and I could look like whatever I want to be.
Yes, I love that. And that's what's so fun about, what could be so fun about living and, and the 3D is that ability to to use those tools to be whoever you want whenever you want. And I think that's another important message, is that just because you wear makeup or you don't wear makeup doesn't mean that you're any, any less than who you truly are. And I think that's beautiful. If you choose to wear makeup, but that's an empowering choice for you, then that's, an empowering choice. And I'm the same way. Like sometimes I feel like wearing it, sometimes I don't. I tend to get like itchy, or like I have this thought that like I'm breathing in like the makeup. And so like I'm like, okay, I try to be natural. And I came to, when I was younger, I would wear a lot of makeup as well. But as I grew older and I began to truly love myself, as I look now, when I want to wear makeup, I choose to do it, and when I don't, I don't. And that's, it's fun to change your look too. And I could see how being able to shapeshift in a past life can influence how you get to shapeshift here.
Yeah, I mean, I can't change into somebody else's body and look like somebody else in this lifetime. I had that ability in the past,
So
but
cool.
I can be happy with myself. And if I try looks, and if I like something, I actually make notes on the makeup, on the formula, what worked and what didn't.
Mhm.
It's like, I like dark blue eyeshadow and like black liner. I like
Mhm.
that and purple. Those are the only shadows and liners that I like. And I always use liquid foundation, because powder, like my pores just absorb the powder so much, it looks like I'm an old grandma with powder. So I can only use liquid foundation and moisturizer. And I actually use vodka with a bit of water for cleansing my face. I can't use any of those moisturizers from the stores because they're all smelly. They all have some kind of a smell. And even if they're organic, they still have something not quite right. But vodka is a natural cleanser because it's pure alcohol to clean anything on the face or anything on the body. And I do it with a bit of water so it doesn't remove the moisture from my skin. It just cleans the pores. It's like a natural cleanser of pores. And that's just an old secret from my granny and my mother. There's like, here's a bottle of vodka. And I'm like, what? Why are you giving me Russian standard vodka? We're Russian. And they're like, that's for cleaning your face. That's not for drinking it. I was like, how do you clean your face with that? It's like, get a little pad, moisten it with water, just a bit of the vodka, and you clean your face with it. I'm like, okay, I still don't get it. Like, why vodka? Why can't I just get a moisturizer? They're like, my mom said to me, vodka is clean. This is pure antiseptic. It's good for your skin sometimes, especially if you're breaking out with something. It just instantly takes the oil and it expands your pores and it makes your pores look better. I'm like, okay. And it does take all the dirt off. Works so well. Just a 50% water and 50% dilute with a bit of vodka. So that's the secret family formula.
I love that. I'm gonna have to try that. I'm always looking for new natural remedies like that, and I love that it's kind of been passed down in your family. And I've heard of aloe vera too. And like, because I have a Mexican heritage, half of me, the other half is Irish, but like aloe vera for the skin as well, I've heard is really good for it. So it's like it's I love that you get to kind of tap into your ancestry and have this remedy that's passed down.
I do have aloe vera gel for the gums and the teeth because it removes the bacteria and it heals the gums and the teeth. And on the skin, you just can't put it on eyes.
Yeah.
I've never put aloe vera on eyes. I've put it on the gums. I've put it on my mouth, my lips. It's like a special dental gel. It's really good.
Yes. I had another question. I was wondering, since we speak of like past lifetimes, and we all of these lifetimes that we've had, some here on Earth and others, and are in stars and our star origins. But do you find yourself ever like missing your star family or your star origins or other lifetimes?
I miss my soulmates because in one lifetime I had 4 to 6 soulmates, not just one. I had male and female soulmates. And some people might consider that weird, but for me in that lifetime, I was female, but I had also 2 or 3 female soulmates and 2 male soulmates all at the same time. And they were like a family unit.
Mm-hmm.
They're like my soul tribe, and they were all my love soulmates from the heart soulmates. And I miss them because I remember that love so deeply, and I haven't been able to find that love here on earth because
Mm-hmm.
they're not incarnated physically in this lifetime with me. So I miss them, but I I try not to miss any of my other lifetimes so much because I'm here in this human body. So
Mm-hmm.
I try to honor the lifetime I have now.
Mm-hmm.
I have embraced the abilities from my past lifetimes in this lifetime, like the psychic ability. I've embraced that to see everything in the soul spark, to see everything in my own soul spark and other people's soul sparks, to be intuitive, to be more with my galactic DNA, to embrace that in this physical body. So I've chosen to do that, but I don't miss much of what was in my past because I'm in my present and I'm also going into my future. And it's
Mm-hmm.
important to be able to anchor and ground yourself and center yourself in this lifetime. It's good to know where you came from and who your galactic loved ones are. But when you're in this lifetime, enjoy being this unique being that you are now. Try to find friends, try to find loved ones who care about you and who deeply resonate with who you are on your level. And if somebody doesn't, then it's okay to let them go, or it's okay to be on a certain level of acquaintance with them. They don't have to be your bestest friend, they can be an acquaintance, but they can still be in your circle of people. There's circles of people. There's your close family and friends. They're the inner circle. And there's the outer circles as well of acquaintances, people we know, co-workers, other people that know those people that we know, and animals as well. There's the close animals who are pets, and there's the outside animals who are our friends who come over for feedings every night. I have raccoons, the neighbors' cats, the birds, the squirrels. They're my outside friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a cat indoor who's my best friend and my familiar. But I treat those animals who I feed with the same love that I do my cat. But I do give my cat more attention because she's the number one bestie. But I
Yeah.
have those animal circle friends as well. And I respect them and I honor them because they all have something that they're connected to me with energetically and physically.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody to love, somebody to care for, somebody to honor and respect.
Oh, that's so beautiful. There's a couple things I wanted to tap in on what you said, and definitely one of them was like our animal friends and honoring that. And I've realized as I've raised my consciousness that even if I see like a spider inside, I'm like, okay, you got to go outside now. Or if I see like even like the smallest like 1D 2D creatures, like I still honor them in their life. And that's something that I've grown as I've grown in consciousness. I realize that like no, I don't want to step on the ant, like I don't want to they're they have a place in this reality as well.
Exactly. Like I see spiders on my walls all the time and I leave them alone because
Yeah.
spiders are for luck.
Oh,
Spiders,
really?
when you see spiders, they bring wisdom. Every animal is a potential totem animal and it has
Mm-hmm.
some soul wisdom that it brings. So if spiders bring luck, they watch you carefully. They bring you success, they bring you luck, they bring you prosperity. I never squish spiders. Ants, if I find one ant, or two, I'll put them outside. If there's a colony of something infesting my house, that's a different story.
Yeah.
And you have to make a decision. What's the most humane way to get them gone?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes when they infest your house and there's too many of them, you have to figure out. I don't use poisons. I only use natural remedies to remove too many creatures. I don't believe in pest control or poison, but there's ways to attract critters to come towards you with something and to put them outside.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that so much. And I yeah, you're a shaman as well, and I can see how having that perspective and that understanding that these creatures and critters are here to teach us something, and looking into what they're here to teach us rather than you know just shooing them away or yeah,
Well,
and it's
Yeah, like there's like for ants, and I've had fruit flies. It's like, well, you can't, once you get fruit flies, it's hard to get them gone. So
Yes.
I got apple vinegar cider, and I put little fruit trap flies, and they all went in, had their snacks, lived for however they wanted to live inside the apple cider vinegar, eat themselves, and then I put them outside, and I dumped the vinegar. But I didn't
Yes.
use like poison pest control. I used natural organic things. Yes, they went to another world after they ate the stuff,
Mhm.
but I didn't kill them with pest control. I didn't poison them.
Yeah,
I let
same.
them eat, but I had to gather them in the apple cider vinegar.
Yes, yes. And I even talk to them sometimes too. Like I'll even say, okay, Mr. Spider, like please don't come over here because I'm, please don't, or I say,
Yeah,
make sure you go back to your home. Like sometimes they'll just
yeah.
disappear. Like I feel like with our intention too, we can really communicate in that way with the animal world and any, animal, whether it be, cat, dog, of
Yeah.
course.
Well, when it's one being in your home, you could put the spider out, you could put one ant out, but the fruit flies, it's like they were like 100 and something of them. They were
Oh
all over
gosh.
my kitchen. It was black, like all the cupboards were black.
Oh gosh.
I forgot tomatoes somewhere, and it,
Yes. Sorry
molded,
them.
and they love mold. Fruit flies love mold. It's like it's like honey to them.
Mhm.
They'll go to it. And the next, I came in, and I'm a shaman as well. I'm a trained shaman. I came into my kitchen, and I'm like, there's hundreds of fruit flies. I'm getting tingles. I was like, it's everywhere. They're on the cupboards. They're on the food. They're on the bowls.
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I going to do with them? I don't want to kill them. I don't want to go
Right.
with fly swatter because they're going to just multiply anyways.
Mhm.
I'm like, think, Ileana, think. And then I just connected to spirit, and spirit said, there's a humane way to gather all of them as a group and then to put them out once they've eaten what they need to eat. And I'm like, what do they need to eat? And spirit said, think what you did at work 5 years ago. Because at the library, we had a fruit fly infestation. Somebody left some fruit out, and they were like, and they used apple cider. I had used apple cider vinegar. I just bought fruit fly traps, like, those cute little apple things that you
Mhm.
put some apple cider vinegar into, and it has holes, and they all like come in and eat and live there for a while
Yeah.
because they live inside the little cute apple thing. And it's just plastic. And that's what I did. I went to Home Depot and I got some of that stuff, and it was natural. It was just apple cider vinegar. And they used a certain formula. So they came in, they ate it, they lived for a few weeks enjoying the food, appreciated the food, and then I put them out
Yeah.
and washed the apple thing. And I didn't poison them. I gave them a choice. Hey, come gather around, go eat your treats, and then you're out of my house.
Yes, exactly. It feels much better to do that when in that way, in a humane way. I love
Yeah,
that. And
yeah, because again, I didn't want to swat them, like go around with a swatter. I don't like killing things. That didn't feel right to me. But I couldn't look at them either in my
of
kitchen
course,
because it was a swarm. I'm like, oh my
yes, they're
goodness.
intruding.
Yeah, yeah, it's fascinating seeing them, but at the same time, it's very unpleasant. It's like, I can't have this in my kitchen
Yes,
because they'll eat. And I have a cat and I need to feed the cat food, and it's open, it's on dishes. It's like I can't have these little things eating my cat's food or sitting spreading bacteria. I'm like, I have to do this in a humane way.
yes.
So if you have an ant infestation, just buy those sweet ant food things
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
a little jar, and they'll all go into it, and they'll eat
Yep.
it, and they'll live there for a while. Then you just put it out, and if there's some ants still in that thing, they'll just crawl out of it and go on their way, and the rest you just dispose of.
Yeah.
So there's like humane things that are not poison.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And there was something else you mentioned a bit ago about was it about gosh, I'm losing my train of thought now, but And I wanted to talk about like your spiritual gifts, and there's something that I was so fascinated uh, about what I learned about you through your interviews and things like that is all like the gifts that you have, like you're psychic, and able to, you have this connection to like the galactic um, or galactic friends and star origins and things like that. And so I was wondering, for those who would like to develop their spiritual gifts, or their gifts in general, like, is that something that you came into this lifetime with and had to work to develop, or is this something that was innately kind of?
I came innately with them, but I did have to work to develop them, to wake them up. Like I took psychic development, learning all the clairs, learning all the aura colors. And I also took white light magic practitioner courses, Wiccan courses. Because I've had past lifetimes as a witch, as a white light witch in the UK. And I wrote grimoires. I was a herbalist and I made poultices. I worked with essential oils. I worked with herbs. And I made poultices and I made concoctions, like healing concoctions with crystals. And I put all of that info in 3 grimoires and buried it somewhere in a forest near a cabin in the UK. And then I was hung as a witch for that, because this was in the 14th century. So being like a herbalist and sort of like a naturopath, it wasn't welcomed in that century. But I called myself a kitchen witch even then, because anything in the kitchen can be a healing medicine. Just like as a shaman, anything from nature you can use for healing. There's herbs, there's oils, there's like from the aloe vera leaf, you can extract the oil and you can use it for healing, like you and I were talking about. So basically what I do now is like I had those gifts innately, but I did train them to awaken them. Because there's degrees of how psychic we are. There's different talents, levels of talent. Not everybody will be the same level. And people ask me, can you like train me to have the same gift that you do? I mean, I could train people with psychic development, but their gift will be uniquely theirs. And I plan to teach psychic development in the future at some point. Right now, I'm just working with people on the soul level, more like psychic readings and galactic readings. But if you want to develop it, of course you can. You can take psychic development, all the clairs, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and the other ones. But it's just about going within and tapping within your own intuitive ability and feeling and seeing and hearing what comes up from your inner self. Start with that, because that's how you learn to talk with your inner self and then the higher self and the soul. I actually just started learning the magic and the crystal stuff, and then I started learning how to talk to my inner self and my soul and my higher selves. So I did things the opposite way. I wanted to develop all the magic, all the psychic skills first. I didn't really go into the inner self except the shamanic stuff about the past lives and the soul retrieval. So I sort of started doing the work, but I was like branching off and I was studying shamanism. I was studying Wicca and crystal magic and energy healing all at the same time. I was doing 3 to 4 courses and working. So I was doing a little bit of everything because I had everything coming online from my past lifetimes, remembering all of this stuff. And I'm like, I want this all now. I was grabbing at studying everything. And I think I knew I don't have a lot of time. I need to do this all now. And I understand, because of what came into my life in the future, why I needed to do all of that then. Because it's all about divine timing and synchronicity. I was meant to learn how to do all of those things then, so I could do it later on as work when I was no longer working in the library. So I had to learn it before switching my work, before switching to work from libraries to the psychic stuff, to the healing stuff. And everything in its own time. It's divine timing.
Yes. I completely agree. I feel like I'm talking to a future version of myself, because that's exactly where where I'm at and how I started. I subconsciously didn't really know why I was doing things that I was doing, or I was really interested in the healing arts, and I studied them for over a decade. And it's just now that I'm transitioning out of what I call my matrix job and into what I came here to do. And now it's like I'm ready for the know thyself, like the Oracle of Delphi. I think that's what's written in Greek, if I'm not mistaken, on the Oracle of Delphi, is like know thyself. And it's like now I'm ready, and it's like exactly what you're saying, divine timing, when we're ready to go within, and we're ready to develop those gifts. We'll kind of be led by spirit to do certain things or to learn certain paths. And
and I connect with my ability, the psychic ability, is to connect with people's soul sparks, the inner soul, the soul that powers your body. To connect to that soul, have a look what's inside, because people ask questions, right? Same with the healing. I connect to the organs. I connect to the energy of your life force frequency to see what's going on inside you, to do the healings or to do the psychic readings when I connect to the soul spark. When I say soul spark, it's your inner soul. It's what's powering your body, your energetics, your auric field, your electromagnetic field around your body. That's part of the soul frequency. And the soul powers the body. So this is what I tap into from my psychic gifts.
Mm.
And can I ask you a question?
Sure, please do.
Did you go on a journey in Peru?
Oh my goodness.
Because
I was supposed to.
Yeah, because your tattoo of the roses, it has something to do with Peru and Mexico.
Oh my goodness.
Something you didn't finish.
Oh my goodness, you're so talented. Yeah, I actually have my Pachacuti Mesa. I'm studying Peruvian Shamanism right now. So that's one thing. And I was actually supposed to go to Peru, but some things didn't work out, unfortunately. I have 4 kids, so some things didn't work out. I do plan on going, but that's so interesting that you tapped in on that. Yeah, and I have a Mexican ancestry on my maternal side. So yeah, wow.
Because the tattoo symbolizes unfinished business that you still have to finish and go to Peru. Because as I was talking about the soul spark, my mind said, please go into Adrianna's soul spark and let's talk about that unfinished business that she needs to finish. It has to do with Peru, and it has to do with her tattoo and the symbolism, because one is tied to the other. And I didn't know that your tattoo is actually an initiation into Peruvian shamanism. I had no idea.
Ooh, the chills.
But it's like I was just being guided to say, you need to go to Peru and you need to finish what you've started studying with that tattoo attached to it. Because it's like an attunement. It's like it's an awakening. The Peruvian shamanism is just part of you, and it needs to be completed. So you need to go. Kids, yes, I understand, but your soul wants to go to Peru, and it needs to finish that business, soul business.
Thank you so much for that message. My body had the chills when you were saying that. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's really validating. And that brings me back to a question. Do you feel like we have, like, each of us has a specific purpose, like we chose to come here and we have a specific purpose or mission that we're here to fulfill?
Yes, everybody does. And yours is to guide and teach people shamanism. Once you finish the Peruvian shamanism and once you go to Peru, this is like your activation, your attunement to teaching other people shamanism. That's part of your soul mission here on Earth.
Thank you. Yeah.
You operate from heart space with your kids. That's why you had your kids first. Kids first. So that's your roots. That's the life force roots. It's actually good you had your kids first, then career second, because you could balance that out better than first career, then kids. So it's the other way around, which is actually great. Because as your kids grow up and get a bit older, you can do the Peruvian stuff. You can go to Peru. It doesn't all need to happen all at once. Like putting it aside temporarily is fine, because you have your 4 kids, and there's a lot happening in the world as well right now. So it's like the energies are shifting. So it's all in divine timing. You'll get to finish the Peruvian stuff and you will teach people shamanism. That's what I see in your future.
Oh,
That's the
thank you.
lineage. You have the shaman lineage. So you will pursue that because it's part of the calling to heal others and to teach others how to heal and to be balanced within themselves, within nature, and to ground and find out what their own roots are in life and what matters to them in life. That's your soul purpose. That's your soul mission in this current lifetime of why you came in, to help to help people to see the wonder, just a wonder of the magic around us and within us, to teach them how to connect to that, but from a shamanic point of view.
Yes.
Because
100%.
That's its own lineage of magic. Shamanism is its own lineage of magic, and Wicca is its own lineage, and there's certain different types of Wicca. There's Druidic, there's European, there's all kinds. I just call it Wicca. So it's so beautiful, but it's all magic. It's its own forms of magic. There's voodoo, there's hoodoo, there's so many different ways. But as shamans, it's more of healers with herbs, with essential oils, ayahuasca, DMT, LSD, all of that stuff. It's part of the journey. It's part of the soul journey, and that's what you're connecting to. How to guide people on their soul journeys. That's your specific mission.
Yes. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
And the purpose is to ground the roots, to anchor people's living roots with earth and with themselves, and deep in the ground and with their families.
Oh, just soaking that all in. Thank you. I love that. I appreciate that so much. And it's interesting because even as a kid, I would I had this I knew that I was here for like a mission. Like I would say that, I would hear that that I'm here, but I didn't really understand it, or what that meant. Interesting.
But that journey, that's still going on your back as tattoos. But what that means, it's more than just here on the arm. It's going on your back as well. Is that correct?
Yeah. How did you know that? Oh my goodness.
Well, the roots of your root chakra are telling me the roots are incomplete on your back.
Yep.
Right now I'm in your root chakra because we're talking about the sole purpose of roots and grounding roots. It's like the roots on your back are still incomplete.
Yep. Oh my goodness, yes.
Because the organs and the chakras, everything in the body is alive and it talks and it sends messages. So your root chakra is saying there's still roots on the back that needs filling and completion. That's tattoos. And they're symbolic because they're part of the healing journey.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes, that's so beautiful. I'm just so grateful and honored to receive that message. And yeah, a lot of it's tied to past lives as well. Like like the Aztec culture, and my past lives, within my Mexican ancestry, that's what they would do. They were a warrior race, and they would stick like piercings through their face, and they would have tattoos everywhere, and yes, I think I bring some of that into this lifetime in terms of why I'm so attracted to putting art on my body. It's also a way for me to express myself without using words, because I'm just now getting used to like being in this 3D realm and having to speak versus like the telepathic communication or the communication through symbolism.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Your soul is telling me and your body is telling me that you're very subtle. You don't need to prove yourself with the warrior piercings. You're not going to go that far. You're just going to do the body work, the artwork on your body, but not here or in the ears. You have nothing to prove going that far as a warrior goddess. The tattoos are very much part of honoring that heritage and the healing that you're doing. Those tattoos are part of the healing because they're very symbolic.
Yes. And even when I would get tattoos, that's what it would feel therapeutic as it's pain. It's interesting that it feels that way, but that's how it felt, was like a form of like a therapeutics, like a healing process for me to.
It is. And you're also honoring the path of the warrior and the path of the healer. Like my skin is too sensitive. I can't get tattoos, but I like to draw them and I like to look at them, and I love artwork. I love tattoos. So to me, that excites me. Tattoos excite me. Whenever I see something beautiful on a person, I know what the symbol sort of means. And I was getting from your own spirit, your own soul spark, that the roses and the other flowers that are interconnected on your sleeve, on your tattoo sleeve, that they're part of a bigger soul path that's not yet finished. Soul path connection that's also going on your back as the roots. Your soul in your root chakra were talking to me as their own living entities, energies that talk. So this is what I was connecting to, and that's how I connect to the soul in the different readings that I do. I just connect to you in your frequency. And sometimes I get people's needs, wants, desires, future things, past things, present things. Different things come up to explore as they're meant to for the highest good of the person. I'm just trying to explain these abilities because that's how they work. I don't know any other way to explain it.
Yeah, I was almost getting emotional as you were connecting in that way. But yeah, so when you're but gosh, I'm sorry, it's hard for me to put things in words sometimes. But like when you're using your abilities, is that something that I know you said that you developed over time, but gosh, I don't know how I'm trying to put this into words.
It was a learning. It was professional certification, psychic development, crystal healing, energy healing, Reiki healing, also the Wiccan stuff, the shaman stuff. It was all professional development with gifted teachers in their own right. So that's how it started. And then I just built up on the abilities intuitively through self-learning. I also learned how to do Akashic Records reading on my own, self-studies. Hypnosis, I was certified in hypnosis. I started with past life readings, past life regression and soul retrieval, and then it just merged into hypnosis as well, like a blend of the shamanism and traditional hypnosis. So it's really like about expanding my abilities through self-learning after the certified coursework.
I remember what I was going to say now that was tied to this. It was our strands of DNA. So we come in with 2 strands of DNA. Well, some don't. Some people come in with more depending on where they come from. But do you feel like having developed your spiritual gifts and your abilities that you've activated like more strands of DNA in the process?
Yeah, I feel like I've activated that 10% junk DNA that we're all told we have, but that's not junk DNA. That's our galactic DNA from past lives of who we were as galactics. And we can reactivate that. I think it's been activated and it's helping these abilities to be stronger. But I don't rely on having more extra in the DNA. I rely just on my ability from the soul level to just tap into what I need to tap into, your frequencies, to give you something that the soul wants you to see or hear about. I don't say it has attachments to my extra other DNA that's been activated, that's galactic. It's more about the soul and what the soul is doing than the DNA even. Yes, we're evolving our DNA, but I don't think it's dependent on how much you activate it. It's more how much you're activating your soul vibration. The higher you vibrate with positivity, the higher you go up dimensionally, the better your abilities are. Going beyond the 5 senses, going the extra mile above the crown chakra. This is where I've gone beyond the 5 senses. Not just touch, smell, hearing, feeling, sensing, or seeing. More like extra sensing.
Yes. I'm just now beginning to develop that, where I'm tapping into, higher dimensions, and I visualize it as like it's almost like it goes pretty fast, but as like this, going with the crown chakra, but up, like you can. It's almost like layers. It seems like.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's been interesting. So I like the distinction between, not necessarily relying on activating that DNA, because I've had like a 22 DNA activation, and had this thought that like, oh, maybe that's what I needed to, awaken my abilities. But I love how you made the distinction between not necessarily relying on that, but raising our frequency and listening to our soul and our soul vibration, and raising that versus, having to, because that can take time as well, right? Activating other strands and take years and years and years, and maybe not even in this lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, I felt my DNA changing and taking on more of the galactic stuff, and it actually makes my physical human body very uncomfortable because it's galactic DNA that's higher than the human aspect of the body, and it's very uncomfortable because things are changing, and if the body is not big enough to handle that, because the DNA is expanding quicker than the body, so if it expands too far out too quickly, it can have effects on the human body. It's like when people say, I'm feeling ascension symptoms, and the body has to anchor and ground that in. Same with DNA expansion. You might get symptoms of the DNA expanding and growing, and it can make the physical body feel very uncomfortable. So that's why I don't just depend on expanding the DNA. I expand my soul frequency, because that I can easily ground in the body. It's just frequencies. You shift the energies, you attune and you balance the energies, and they're equal in the human body. That's easier to do than the expanding DNA.
I could see that.
You have to go into every individual strand and attune it and align it. And even if you do, it might not be perfect because the human body has its own ideas. So I don't really, people like, can you heal my human DNA? Can you remove all my mutations? I'm like, I don't play with human DNA. I leave that alone, because if I change it way too much or shift something, I can cause harm to the human body, and I don't want to do that. So on some level, I do work with DNA to fix things like chemical imbalances, like methylation DNA. I play with that, methylation genes, because those are energy frequency more so than the solid DNA that has mutations in it. It's easier to play with energy frequency that's epigenetics. It's easier to work with the energy to heal that. But there's more solid DNA that's more sophisticated than epigenetics and methylation genes. And that DNA I don't really touch.
Yeah. So we have like the carbon-based DNA, and then we have like this divine genome sequence. Is that what you're working with, like that versus, or is it more of like the carbon-based?
It's the carbon-based, because some of it is more energetic. Like epigenetics and methylation genes can easily be, the frequencies can be changed. They're not as complicated in the strands because there's bigger DNA codings. DNA comes in coding. It's all informational coding. So certain DNA is more denser and thicker and has more codes. That's the type that I don't always look into or tap into if it has huge mutations that causes cancer, that causes migraines. That's the type I can't guarantee that I could heal or fix completely. Epigenetics, I worked on for myself, like not having enough vitamin D. My methylation genes don't work well. So I've done some energy healing on myself. Plus I take vitamin B12 complex and vitamin D3 liquid form. And that's healed my issues with vitamin D3 and D4 deficiency. Even though it says I have a mutation, genetic mutation in that, my vitamin D3 and D4 are perfect because I worked on healing that.
Yeah.
That's easy. That's epigenetics. It's flexible. That's flexible DNA. But there's carbon-based DNA that's not so flexible. And that I don't really touch.
Yeah. The epigenetics is so incredibly interesting, and that's something that I think it's powerful that we are armed with this information, because like, for example, at least in my paternal side, I have like a line of alcoholics and addictive personalities, and I think being able to recognize that, if in the generations that are passed down, like in this current lifetime, being aware of epigenetics and how we have the power to change that is
yes,
can be powerful.
and it's also habits and free will choice and the examples we have in life. If we choose to live a different life, we can make that choice. But if we're put in a vicious cycle where we constantly have the bad examples, we mimic and emulate that example, and it continues on until we choose to break that cycle. That's psychology 101, except on the energetic scale, having better life examples so we can see we can do better.
Yeah, and would you say, like, say if we, for example, we have this history of addictive personalities in our family, and we choose to break that cycle, does that heal the past and break the cycle for the future?
It can, in terms of you're breaking the cycle in yourself so that your future kids don't have that bad example. And it's not in their bodies when they're born.
Yes.
When your body is cleansed and purified of the toxins from the addiction, like the alcohol, when you cleanse yourself of that poison, right, inside the body. And if you're choosing to have kids in the future, those kids are going to have cleaner genetics because you did the work to be clean yourself physically and energetically. So it does impact future generations, making them better if you're better.
Yeah, because in shamanism, they say that time is not linear. Everything is happening simultaneously.
I do think that happens, but in 3D world, we do have time flow. We do sort of have a linear, consecutive flow of how we're born and how our life interacts. So there is linear time and there is not linear time. It depends what you're looking at in the timeline spectrum. If you're living fully in a 3D world, you have some linear time. If you're going outside of 3D world, then time is mostly not linear anymore.
That makes sense. Yeah, like the non-ordinary realities they talk about or would be outside of linear time.
Yeah. Anything beyond the 4D world is not connected to linear time.
Interesting. So interesting.
Because I've been in other realms, dimensions, realities, timelines, parallel timelines as well. And things are spinning so fast, I can't even pinpoint where this is in reality sometimes.
Yeah.
It's going so fast. It's like, that's not linear time. That's definitely going beyond the speed of light, beyond time itself.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes I do shamanic journeying. It's like interesting. It's like infinite possibilities of dimensions and worlds and things that you can go into.
It's infinity. There's no start, there's no middle, and there's no finish in a lot of these things. It's like pure soul exploration, because I've done shamanic journeys as well. That's how I began, with the drumming, the drum beat, and going in on a soul perspective and just grounding the body with the soul and going into a space of clarity and figuring out what dimension it is, what realm it is, putting the focus on that and seeing who you are in a different reality beyond time and space.
Yeah, and so many beautiful healings that can take place too, instantaneously on a soul level, energetic level. So
powerful. And I had my eyes closed because I was just going back in memory to see how that works. Because now I just do astral travel. I don't even have to drum anymore. Just take my soul out and go wandering with protection. Of course, with the angelics, with my own soul field protection. Always protect yourself, no matter how you journey, no matter how, always put the protection first before you start the journey.
So important. That is so incredibly important. That's one of the first things I was taught. The first thing I was taught when learning about like the magical and healing arts was to, open a healing circle. Always make sure you take your spirit guides and the angelic, divine, benevolent beings, and just to make sure that nothing, happens.
Because in those other places, there's good beings, there's not so good, and the negatives. All of that still exists beyond 3D, 4D. So we have to be careful and protect ourselves. And if we're taking anybody else on the journey with us, we protect them as well.
Yep, exactly. And yeah, one of the, I feel like the I don't want to say harder, but the one that can be the middle world journeys, I feel like are the ones that I have to be really careful of in terms of other entities and things like that.
Because you can go into 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D, 5 and up.
Yes.
And even in the higher realms, I've noticed sometimes there's inappropriate beings or things that are there. Even
Yeah.
5D or to 7D is like, because when you're or when you're in the astral, it's like always protect yourself. Always, always, always. Just protect yourself physically and energetically. Then nothing can get in that you don't want in. And don't give them permission to come in.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and then there was something another video, another interview that you mentioned in terms of, oh, I just recently watched it. It was the I think it was like the banishing one where energetically you were teaching how to like keep those frequencies out and to recognize them. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a powerful, powerful message for these times. And I just thought that it was just really supportive in terms of remembering and learning how to do that, because I think that's really important as well.
Yeah, and that lesson was to honor myself, because I don't always have to. I felt like I was dying because I was seriously being attacked. So I was protecting myself and just trying to live and for those things not to infest me. And I actually got a comment on that video. Oh, if you were a great practitioner, you could just clear that all out in 1 hour, all of those things. 20 minutes for that, 20 minutes for this. And they broke it, the commenter broke it down in halves and pieces. And I was tempted to answer, it actually depends on the practitioner and the level that they're at with the energies and the magic and the abilities. Someone might be able to clear that out in 1 hour, and some might not. Again, it depends on your skill set, your skill levels, your knowledge sets, what you've learned, what you're capable of, how strong you are in your frequencies and your energies. I would never just say to a person, go do it in 1 hour, because there's so many things to unravel, revoke, banish, remove, and they're intricate. Like, again, I could list you off the top of my fingers what everything was that was flying at me. It was almost 5 things. And as a practitioner, I was just defending myself from all of that coming into me. That's all I was doing, describing what I was doing in the video. I wasn't clearing the client of it. Because I just, my higher self just said, something's not right about this case. There's lying involved. There's something still there in their house that shouldn't be in their house. Somebody didn't clear the stuff out. I was like, okay. And I called the person, and they're like, oh, my husband threw out that little box. I call it Pandora's box. That's where all that stuff was sitting. But they didn't throw it out. Her husband didn't throw it out. It was there for years in the house, creating bad energy in the house, infesting the client, almost killing them, ruining their health. And their husband was sort of oblivious to it because he's not sensitive to energies, only the client. So, you know, it's a confidence level, how strong you are as a practitioner. If you feel you can clear that, go ahead. I didn't feel that I had to clear this, and it was my place or time to clear it. So I said, I'm sorry, I can't do this. And for the reasons of why, because I'm just trying to protect myself and save my life here, because I'm being attacked. Just like the client described what was happening to them, it was these energies started to choke my throat, literally tried to kill me. That's how I knew this was death magic, cursing, dark magic, voodoo. There's voodoo. And there was also entities and blood pathing. There was blood magic involved. There was ritual weaving of the energies. For me, that would take several hours to try to clear, because you have to be very careful unraveling bit by bit so you don't miss something in the process. Because if you miss something, you have to go back and clear it. And this lady had 2 shamans come in to try to clear this, and they weren't able to clear this particular issue. So she's been stuck with it for almost 2 years.
Oh gosh.
And they cleared 5 other entities from her, but they couldn't clear this specific thing that I encountered, because there's a lot of things in that thing. So the person who said to me, oh yeah, no problem, most practitioners can do this in an hour, they weren't there, and they're not in that life situation. So it's just to say, oh yeah, somebody can clear it in an hour. You don't know until you know what you're into,
Exactly.
how to do it, and what the
Yes.
time would be. So I'm never overconfident saying I can just clear that in an hour. It depends on the situation and what's involved in the process.
Yes, I agree 100%, and that's so important to know. And yeah, that's I mean, I've personally had experience when I was younger with entity attachment, and I didn't know what it was at the time. Like I came from a a trauma-based childhood in a lot of ways, and so something had affected me there. My brother was a drug addict, so there was a lot of entities and things that were involved with that, and I didn't even know until I started I had thoughts that were my own. And when I grew into higher consciousness, and I started to realize, like, oh, this isn't, those aren't my thought forms. Something was attached to my crown, but I had to go to healers, multiple healers actually, to get it removed. And that's the thing, is it took a lot of things outside of just like a 20-minute hour session. It took a lot of things, like things I had to do outside of that healing session. I had to use like banishing, I had to use like black salt and like put it on my doorways and my windows. So that a lot of things went into this specific, it's like an individual basis. And exactly like you said, it really depends. It's situation to situation.
It's like, it was almost like I was creating magical formulas to dispel and banish and revoke what was flying at me, one thing at a time. And then anything else that could have been in between. Like I cleared anything and everything possible that could attack me, not just what was attacking me. I cleared that first, but everything else as well, just in case. Because that little box with the pictures in it, that was a voodoo box.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a lot of bad things in it. And I call it Pandora's box. It might be small, but I felt like an atomic bomb was blasting me. And I don't take that lightly, and I needed to clear that, and I needed to protect myself. And it took 2.5 hours just to clear all of that from me. And then healing the throat with crystals and words of power afterwards for 4 days, because there was a soul wound, an energetic wound that was open in my throat on the left side, the feminine side of my body. That's what it really attacked. And I was healing that and clearing negative energy, even after the banishing, the revoking, and cutting the cords that bind. I was still doing healing. Mm-hmm. So it did sort of come in a little bit on the peripheral side of me, just on it didn't go in my soul, but it hovered, and it did some energy damage and hurting energetically, which caused physical symptoms, and those had to be healed.
Yeah, and there's practitioners who work solely with that kind of, that train solely for that too as well. And so, and that's an important point to make. The shamanic teacher that I am apprenticed under, she actually she had a healing that she had like available on her website specifically for like entity attachment and spirit attachment and things like that, but she had to kind of put that aside and not work with that specifically, because she said every single time somebody would buy that, there would always be an issue, like the payment wouldn't go through, they would, there was always something attached to it that was
exactly. And I've removed that from my website because there's been issues with it on multiple levels. And this is how I know it's not the right thing for me to do right now, because I was defending myself from that.
Yeah, exactly.
And it left a soul wounding. It left a burn on my throat, a psychic energetic burn. And I had to take care of that. So just knowing what you're confident in dealing with and healing. And yes, entity attachment removal is one of my strengths, but it's not my core working. It's not what my soul wants me to work with right now. And this was a lesson. This situation was brought to my attention as a learning lesson and an opportunity to step aside from doing that work. I'm not going to be doing entity attachment removal. I'm still removing spells and a little bit of cursing, but it depends on what it is. If that's something I can handle, I do it. If not, I say, I'm sorry. This is what I can do, and this is what I can't. You need to go to somebody above me, even. And I'll say it, I'll honestly say it, because I have to be authentic in my work. Yeah. I'll say what I can do and clear and what I can't. And I told this lady, this is a lot of stuff, and I'm just talking to you as this happens, and I'm sorry. You need to go to somebody local to physically work with you, not even long distance.
Yeah.
Not through Zoom, because some things can be done through Zoom, but this particular entity attachment, it had multiple parts, and she needs to see somebody in person to remove all of that. In my opinion, that's what I was psychically picking up. And I said it. It's not a simple healing where you just are healing soul wounds and that's easy. This is like multiple layers of darkness. So, and that's more of a physical thing that needs to be done.
Yeah, I've had that experience too. I'm still in that state where I'm still pretty new to healing energetically, and because I'm in Shamanic Healer 3 was where I'm at right now. So I'm still learning. But I had a case with that like that as well, where I just had to be honest, and it was a binding, and I had to be honest that I was in the lower world, doing my best to remove it, and I just couldn't. I couldn't. And so I just was honest with her, and I was like, I'm sorry, I tried my best, and I couldn't remove it.
Yeah, and honesty is the best policy. Like you said, sometimes you can remove things in one go, and sometimes it takes several sessions to do. I always say, this is what I can do, and this is what I sense I can remove or can't, or partially. Sometimes I can partially remove or fully. But when I had like 5 some things layered like this, my soul said, clear yourself and back away. This is not for you to do, not in this time and space, back away. So I honored the soul, and I honored the client, potential client. I told them, and I explained. I even made those 2 videos and sent links to the client to let them know what this was and what's after them. Even just the knowing sometimes helps to begin the healing process and the journey.
100%.
By psychically me connecting to them, it was brought to the light that this little Pandora's box was still in the house, and the husband hadn't thrown it away like he said he did originally. And that's why the client was feeling so badly, and the energies in the house and in the client. So that sort of began the journey of where's the source of this and what it's doing. So at least it gave them some clarity, and it gave me clarity of what happened. And that's okay. Some things I can handle, I guess, and some things it's not my timing to do right now. Yeah. And I'm okay with saying that and admitting it and taking responsibility. This is not for me. That's not the journey I'm meant to be on, and it's for somebody else. And the client even said to me, 2 other shamans had worked on this, and they said, we can't clear this particular issue that they have now, that they contacted me with, that I described in the video. It's more like the video was to bring awareness that stuff actually exists. It's real. Because the client's husband said that they're crazy, that they should be in the loony bin. They're not crazy. That stuff is really after them. Yeah. So that video was to help the husband understand, hey, somebody else experienced this. It's real.
Yeah. And I think that's an important point you made too, about like just the awareness of it. It brought healing, because I've gone to many psychics and healers, and one, I went to a psychic healer about the issues with my brother, and she brought something to my awareness, and I was like, oh, I felt healed just from knowing, coming into the awareness of why this was placed into my life and what it was doing. And I think we all play a role. And
yeah. Honestly, I don't want to be doing entity attachment removal. I don't want to connect to that darkness. I don't want to be in that soul field vibration.
Yeah. I
don't want to be in that particular space at this time.
Yeah. I completely understand. So I'm learning about it just to learn about it, but I don't think that's part of my mission here either. but just having the awareness of it is good in case
Mhm.
you ever come across it. And
Yeah, well, I've learned it and I've done it. I've actually done a lot of
yeah.
entity attachment removals, but spirit is telling me you need to stop doing this work. This is not your calling anymore. Step away, be honest about it. And I removed that service from my website. I can confidently say I'm a good psychic, I'm a good healer. I'm working on the soul and the body level from healing and multidimensional to do healing work. But I'm not going to be connecting to the entity things for removal of entities. Negative energy I can clear easily from the body. And sometimes person comes in with minor little entities, those get removed in the energy healing, but anything like death magic, demonics, possession, voodoo, hoodoo, blood pathing magic, dark magic, and again, the death magic and many entities, that I'm not touching anymore. That's why I was repeating myself. Do you know why I was repeating myself so much in the first video? Is because I had just done the clearing on myself. I had just got out from that particular situation. And it sounded like I was repeating and babbling in the first video a little bit. But it was because that was just so fresh in my mind. I was still living the experience somewhat. That's why some people said, why are you repeating yourself in this video? That's not professional. I just got out of the situation and I wanted to say what I felt happened there. That's why it was repetitive.
Well, and I feel like the repetition it is supportive for some people as well, because we have to hear it multiple times for it to really integrate and for us to really understand. Because if not, if we hear it just one time, sometimes we'll hear it once and then we'll forget it in the next couple of hours. But when we hear, sometimes spirit.
It wasn't intentional though. I was still coming from a state of trauma experience.
Yeah.
That's why I was sort of babbling and repeating myself, because I was so it was just so fresh.
Yeah.
Like after 2 hours of clearing that, I did the video, but it was still it was still hurting my throat.
Yeah.
Even to talk. But I'm like, while this is in my mind, it's so fresh, I need to talk about it. Otherwise, I wanted to forget that experience and move on. But if I forget it, I won't know what steps I took in the lesson to counteract that process, that situation. So doing that video was about, what did you learn from this lesson and how did you protect yourself? Make sure to archive it so others know how to deal with that if that comes up for them. And I made a second video about it, explaining in more detail what happened and why, because people wanted to know about that little Pandora's box. It's like, what happened with a client? It's like, why did you pull away? Why did you not clear them? Because it's not my place to do that. My place was to shine some light on what was the source of the problem, not to actually deal with the problem for myself. Somebody else will clear that and deal with it. And I can admit it when that needs to happen and why. I'm not living in my ego where I could say, yes, I'm so confident, I'm overconfident, and I can do this right now. That wasn't what the lesson was about. The lesson was to step away and honor my own self-care and the practices that I was taught to do to safeguard my own health. That was the lesson. And I've learned the lesson not to be energetically so drained that I don't see the warning signs that are coming. And I didn't fully see it. I had an inkling, but I wasn't at my best, and I can admit that.
Yeah. I mean, I do that too in terms of like putting my ego aside. Like I before I go on any journey, I always put my ego aside, like see it in my mind's eye, like coming out of my body and staying behind when I go on a shamanic journey, just so I know I'm authentic in what I'm doing and what I'm healing, and my capabilities, and not reverting to ego and saying I can do this when I can't. And I think that's it's so important to be authentic. And yeah, exactly like you, I see that you played your role in bringing that awareness to her, and now she gets to go to somebody who can do what she
Yeah.
wants to do.
Yeah. And I was just calling her. She lives in one country, I live in another. It was just a phone conversation. It wasn't to clear anything. It was just I had an inkling that something wasn't right. And my higher self was saying, there's more to this story than meets to the eye. You need to do some investigating. The moment I called, these things from the box just started going at me, coming at me. And this is when I knew, okay, you didn't put your full due diligence into this, psychically checking what's going on here. You were just calling the client to get some information. I should have tapped psychically into it, but I didn't want to because I could feel something was really wrong. I didn't want to start psychically connecting to it. But I should have paid attention to that and said right away, I can't do this. Just before even calling the client, I should have paid attention, and I didn't fully. But that's okay. We're all human. That's okay. This can happen.
Yeah.
Just acknowledge what happened and why, and learn from the lesson.
Exactly. Yeah, that's actually something I learned from you that point. And then also tapping in terms of like the person that you're working with, like not tapping into, in a way that's intrusive, but just a general overview of like their energy body and their frequency, just to get an idea of whether is this in alignment with what I do, and do I want to work with this person? Like you said, we need to honor ourselves first and foremost. And I think that's really an important point for practitioners and anybody who's looking to, or if the healing path, the healer path is their path.
Yeah, and that's so important. And before I do any interview with anybody, I sort of do a little mini look into their soul frequency and vibration. And you passed. And I could see the genuine healing energy in you and the healer path in you. I could already see that before we started chatting. And your soul is beautiful. It's very white, blue light spectrum. So, and I should do this always. That was a lesson. I didn't quite look deep enough into that client's soul and what was going on there, because I was thinking that's just a phone call to see if we match or not in energy, and to check out what that I was feeling was, that intuitive feeling. And that was it was a very big thing in a very small package. And that's okay. It's fine. And I feel like they'll get helped.
Yeah, I do too. I really do. And thank you so much for letting me know. I just feel I feel honored to being able to interview and just to receive the transmissions that you have. And what would you say your mission is here in this lifetime?
I don't really have one specific mission anymore. My mission is to just explore the experiences that help me grow as a being, to be a better person, to be a higher vibrational soul, I would say. I've accomplished many of my missions that I know I came into this world to accomplish. I've already done that. Now it's like free flowing. It's
I love that.
Free flowing. It's just flowing on the river, and just trying to balance the peace in my life, the tranquility, the peace, and not to tap into dark energy anymore, not to connect to the dark spectrum of dealing with things. So to be more vibrationally balanced, I would say.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I felt that when you were in my body when you were saying that, because that's definitely where I'm going as well, and what I'm working towards. And it's still a work in progress, but I just mastering the emotions and keeping my vibration at a certain level, and continuing to ascend in that way. And what would do you have any tips for raising the vibration and the soul frequency, and how we can do that?
Yeah, work in progress is a beautiful thing. You don't have to strive for perfection, just getting there all at once. While you're reaching the level of where you want to go, however you want to go, because again, healing modalities, there's many different sorts and kinds. Just tap in, sit with yourself and say, what feels comfortable and right for me to learn at this time, or to engage in the understanding of what feels good. Does this feel good? Does that feel good? Which is more important for me to engage with at this time for my own self-growth, healing, what you want to be involved in? Just tap in to make sure feels right to you to do. And if it doesn't, examine why. And what's the purpose of why doesn't it feel good, or why does it feel so good? I need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Weigh the pros and the cons, because your feelings are really important. Those feelings, it's the intuitive ability to see what you need in the soul level, within to the outer, inner to the outer. So I would say this is how you raise your vibration. This is how you figure out where you need to be or go.
Mm-hmm.
What's honoring your soul? What's honoring your life path? What do you really need in life? What do you want? Why do you want it? The soul desire, the soul expression.
Yes, that's beautiful. Yeah, just exploring, what feels in alignment.
Mm-hmm. And
I love that.
if it feels in alignment, then it's the true calling to do something. And if it doesn't, you don't have to do it or pursue it. There's something else to pursue, a life path, a life goal, a life choice. Because if it's not one thing, then it's another thing that comes in that's beautiful. And we don't have to be perfectionistic on reaching those goals. Work in progress is a beauty in and of itself, because that's when you learn your deepest life lessons and experiences. You get to explore and experience.
Enjoying the journey,
Mm-hmm.
enjoying the journey and what we're learning along the way, and just really validating. And I have the word sabali, which is it's a West African word, but it means patience, because I get to remind myself that it's I'm not in a rush to learn my life lessons. Like, I get to enjoy the journey, and not rush into things and miss all the beauty and lessons that are all along the path.
Yeah, and I was just doing an aura reading on myself. I found a good Curlian aura reading app. It's called Curlian. It's spelled Curlian, actually, not Krillian.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of green and blue aura around myself right now.
Mm-hmm.
So blue is healer, green is patience, it's soul growth, it's connecting with nature. But blue is also impulsiveness and impatience. So, and my personality can be impulsive when I want something. I just want it. I want it now. I want it perfectionistic in my ability and this and that. But I've learned if I slow down, I learned so much more important things, and really understand what I'm learning and why, and what I'm taking in energetically. Not to cut corners, not to make it go, 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 because I can miss something really important. And the aura reading itself, it showed me, yes, I'm impatient and impulsive sometimes. This could be not a strength, but a detractor if I go way too fast. And it's also said that I'm a workaholic, that when I take on a project, everything else is lost. I'm just focusing in on that and that alone. And that's true to some degree. So this aura reading, it came out of something unpleasant that happened, but it turned into a very pleasant experience, because I had a practitioner who's I think they're not in their soul alignment, do a fake aura reading on me and post a video about it. This is from last December. I just found out about it recently. And I had that video removed on YouTube because it was full of untruths and lies about me. It was an inaccurate reading, but it got me to be curious about aura reading photography. And I looked around. There's no practitioners that have a Krillian aura reading photography camera. Nobody around me. I'm like, okay, you're curious about your aura, do it yourself. I spent 2 hours looking for an app for an Android smartphone, and I found the EmoCam. And I started playing with it. And when I first, took the aura reading picture, it was orange. It's kind of sickly orange and yellow. So I was down. I was feeling bad because of watching that video. And once I had that video removed, my aura became green and blue and nice yellow throughout the day and the evening, because I took more photos to see what the aura was like, because my health was improving and my mood was improving. So aura colors can change based on how you feel emotionally and where you're at physically in your health state and your physical energy. And the physical energy. And I was very weak in my physical energy when it was kind of like light orange and yellow. So it wasn't clean. It showed the weaknesses in my auric field and my physical state. Because when you watch something disgusting, when you hear untruths and lies about yourself, it drops your self-confidence and makes you sick physically and emotionally. And that's what showed in the aura picture. And once that video was gone, and I said to myself, that person has nothing to do with me. They don't know me as a healer. They don't know me as a person. They told lies about me. None of that is true. I'm none of those things. Instantly, I just felt physically better, and my aura colors were vibrant and healthy again, because I acknowledged to myself, take action. Don't sit there without inaction to take care of this nasty stuff that's being spread lies about you. When somebody else tells lies about you, go take care of business and get rid of that stuff. Don't let that negative energy hang on YouTube or anywhere else. And they took my picture from another interview from 4 years ago, an old picture, and stuck it in a fake aura reading. I was not okay with that.
No.
I got that removed instantly. YouTube removed that particular video. And that person was saying that they have quantum scanning technology that can give you an instant scan of your aura and a reading. And they give you a report of it. But they didn't have a fresh picture of me to do an aura reading properly.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of already knew how aura readings work, because I've been interested in Kirlian photography for 2 years, but I couldn't find a good app. But now I did, because I was curious how my aura looked like. It's like, what this other person was talking about me was lies, and that was a fake aura reading. So how about we go and do a real one and see what my aura is really like after hearing all that negative garbage being said about me. And then when I clear this garbage, when everything is back to feeling normal and good and positive, so taking negative duality energy, hearing garbage about yourself and bad things, then clearing that and just having positive true self vibration, what's left? Only the positive clean aura, which is healthy. And this is what this aura reading experiment did.
I watched that video and it was fascinating. I loved it because I was learning so much, and I've heard about, aura readings and things like that. I'm aware of the aura and what it is, and I could tap into my third eye. I could see it, but I was just fascinated by that video and how you were explaining how it can change throughout the day as well. And I was like, wow, like just the different colors, like the gray areas and like what that can mean. And I was just like, wow, this is fascinating. So I learned a lot from your videos and what you share, and I know a lot of other people do as well. So I'm really grateful for that.
Well, I'm going to be, when I have some time, I'm going to post the results of this experiment, because I just, yesterday I spent like 2 hours just doing a presentation on what those images were that I took in the aura reading, because I was so curious. This was like an experiment to me, to see if aura reading is actually real, because I don't have that expensive Kirlian aura reading camera. It's like a couple of $1,000. And I wanted to see, well, do any of those cell phone apps actually work? And I downloaded 2 and they didn't work. They were like taking trippy pictures of infrared of me and objects. Is like, no, that's not an aura reading picture. But this thing showed the main layer of what the aura is and the other aura layers. And that's how I knew it was real. Is there's a specific look to it that's done by the professional Kirlian aura photography camera, and this app mimics the same protocols basically, and does it the same way. It's just a photo app, and that's fine, but it works. Because I went to my mom, I looked at my mom and in the evening, and she was in a foul mood, didn't want her aura reading picture taken, but I still pointed the camera at her in the app And my mom was scowling. She was furious. She's like, leave me alone. I don't want you taking my picture. I don't want you looking at my work. Like, I could see the muddy orange and the furious bright red in the Aura app. She's like, stuck her hand out. It's like, get out, go away, not with the cell phone. But I got to see her Aura. And I'm like, yep, the colors change. The Aura field colors change. So this app does change colors. So it's not a gimmick because it changed colors on me based on how I was feeling. My mom was furious. She was angry at me. I'm like, perfect. That's the perfect mood that I need to see, because those were the colors that appeared in the Aura. Then I went to my cat and tried to take a Aura reading picture of her. My cat is black. The app couldn't find anything, unfortunately, because it needs a skin tone. It needs a skin tone. My cat is black, so it couldn't really take a picture of the cat. It's like it got confused.
Yeah, it didn't register.
It didn't register.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I'm looking forward to continuing to follow that experiment because I thought it was fascinating. And there's quite a few apps. Like there's just one app that I actually paid for called the Genius Biofeedback. I was just curious about like what it does and what it can do. And what are your thoughts on like that technology where they say like they'll have you like, for example, they'll with an algorithm they'll like you talk into it, so it's like analyzing your voice and the frequency of your voice in hertz, and then it's giving you remedies based on the frequency of your voice. Is that technology something that is accurate in terms of like determining like your vitamin deficiencies or like ailments potentially in your body?
It could. I don't know this particular device because I've never used it. All I can say is you have to test it out and see if it's true or not. If the results actually match what's going on in your body. Okay. What I do like is the Accugraph, because this is a software and it's hardware that connects to a computer, and it measures the body corridor of your meridians, of all the meridian points in your body. And it could tell you if your liver is working properly, your heart, your brain, all the organs in the body. And then it also points out like how well something is healthy in the body and what's not healthy. So it has a body corridor. So it's like a diagnostic tool for your organs. And it also makes recommendations if you're deficient in vitamins or anything else, because this is for naturopaths and acupuncturists. They use this a lot, the Accugraph, in their practices to tell clients, well, you're improving based on this, and this. This is not improving, and we need to work a little bit more on this. With acupuncture, with naturopathic remedies, herbs, oils, or a combination of vitamins as well. But the Accugraph also tells you which meridians, which body parts and which sides aren't working, why, and what you need to strengthen. And it has an allergy test, I think, as well. So I trust that more than the verbal technology.
Okay. Yeah. And then what about like in terms of this technology being able to send frequencies to your body via sound or vibration? So like, for example, if they calculated the vibration of a rose and you needed internal rose to heal something like that was like prescribed, or whatever it may be, lavender or something, and that frequency is coming out of the technology.
Yes, Rifing does that. The Spooky 2.
Okay.
Rifing, Spooky 2. I mean, I tried the Spooky 2 on myself, and it actually made me feel bad because the frequencies in the program weren't right for me. But for other people, it could work. I'm just sensitive. I just have a very particular galactic DNA chemistry set that is very sensitive to frequencies. It wasn't for me, but Rifing, I saw the Spooky 2 and I saw the database, and it has rose oil, it has lavender, it has all of that already pre-programmed to the database, and they could put new programming in. So yes, it can deliver that frequency to you into the body. How you react to the frequency, if you're compatible with it, that's another thing. Because some frequencies your body might be compatible with, some might not, as I learned from trying the Spooky 2 in a healing exchange. because we tried my own body frequencies that it found that my body likes and is comfortable with. And we tried some program frequencies that are not mine, but that's in the programming. It has 50,000 different programs, spooky too. I would say go for it. If you really want to work with frequency healing, the spooky 2 is one of the best. The accugraph doesn't do vibrational healing. It just tells you what's working right and what's not in the body, and to what levels. From 1 to 100, it actually tells you how good an organ is and how bad something is. It gives you a corridor that you can save as a diagnostic tool for every client. So
Interesting.
It's very good to see progress. If you're doing any type of healing for anybody, it could be energy healing, it could be herbs, it could be vitamins, it could be essential oils, anything that goes energetically into the body or physically. That accugraph can tell you how much improvement somebody is making. And I could see it on my mother's blood tests, because her liver filtration system is horrible. She goes to our naturopath and he makes his own remedies, and he uses the accugraph to measure her liver function based from the blood test and, the body corridor, the physical energetic measurement of how much progress she's making or not with the remedies.
Yeah, I love that. That's so interesting. There's other ways too, and like different ways you can measure the progress. Like I was in a shamanic journey with this medicine man, and he was like playing the didgeridoo and things like that. And there's plant medicine. It's called Wind Horse Alchemy. He's amazing. Peter May. He's amazing. And he actually had us. It was I want to call him. I hope I'm saying this correctly. It was like and measure the magnetic frequency of the body. So we measure the magnetic frequency before the journey in plant medicine, and then after the journey in plant medicine, and it was so cool.
Well, the accugraph measures your electromagnetic frequency.
Okay, there you go. That's what it is.
Yeah, you hold a little electrode, and the other pen electrode is measuring the meridians on the body.
Oh my gosh, that's what it was. Okay, so I wasn't sure that's what the machine was. Very, very, it looked exactly like that. Had a little pen, and you and it showed I can't remember what the measurement was.
And there's several types of these devices. I know the accugraph is the best based on my own experience, because my naturopathic practitioner has had it for almost 20 years. And it's a local company in the US that makes it. It is a little expensive, but it really can diagnose physical body ailments and in which you're deficient in.
Yeah.
It just doesn't do frequency healing.
Yeah, it just measures it. Which is, it's so amazing and so beautiful, because it just shows that, if there was like a skeptic or somebody who was not, maybe somebody who didn't know that like sound healing or something could heal the body in that way, and then be able to measure that after, just to kind of show like, hey, it did.
Oh yeah, you can. Same with the aura reading apps. I had a client of mine who has an iPhone, and she bought a biofeedback aura reading app from a practitioner and put it on her cell phone. And she did an energy healing with me, and the aura was a little, not bright. And she did after the healing session, she went in and did the aura reading measurement, and the aura was much brighter and healthier. And she sent me the pictures. And she did this session with me in 2020. And after that, I was constantly looking for an app to do an aura reading. And when I encountered this video with a fake practitioner doing an aura reading on me with their quantum scanning technology, and it's like fake. I don't have any of that nasty garbage. And I could tell the only true thing that she said about me was that I was weak in my body, that I needed to put more self-care to my healing in my energy, in my physical body, in my health. Yes, I have things to work on, I know, and I'm working on them. I'm well aware. So that was the only true thing she sensed with whatever ability or technology she was using to do a scan on me. But you can't use an old picture from 4 years ago. You need a fresh picture taken for a clear aura reading, for a professional one. And this was how I knew this person is not legit in what they're saying, because they don't have a fresh picture of me.
Mm-hmm.
And they're using my work name. Ileana, the Star Traveler, is my work name. That's my soul name, but that's what I associate. But my other human name, they didn't use that. So you have to have your full name, first, last name, plus a current picture of you to do an aura reading correctly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not even the soul name, but the real name that you were born with, that you were named for
Yeah.
professional aura reading.
Yeah. Yeah. I think also, at least in like ethically, I feel like if you don't give someone permission to put that information out there, everything that I do is confidential. And if there's something I feel like I need to share for the collective, it will, or share like a message I need to share to the collective, it'll always be without names, without dates, without, exposing the person's identity, because it's so important to keep that confidential.
Exactly. And that's what I was saying in that video that you listened to. Privacy is very important, confidentiality. If I need to talk about something or someone because there's something going on, I will never mention their name, not a client's name, not a practitioner's name, not anyone that is associated with me or I know, or researcher, never mention their names. I might talk about generalities of what happened with somebody or something, but they'll not be named, and there's not going to be specific details about what happened deeply. I'm going to bring in generalities as examples just to bring awareness to what's happening, that this fake practitioner is out there and they're currently doing active videos on other people. What they did to me in December of last year, they're doing that now to others. It's getting worse.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
But my video has been taken down because they're using other people's pictures and names and sticking it into fake aura readings and using their own biases and judgment to say that they're a professional and that they're the only ones who can do this type of a result and work and scan for you. They're not the only ones. There's people who are professionals and can do it right. Heck, you can even do it yourself.
Yeah.
If you find the right app, or if you go to a professional who has a Krillian or a reading, camera or machine, they can do it for you.
Yeah. And you could even do it yourself, just like tap, if you're, I don't know if you have to be trained or not, but even like tapping in, like if you really tap in and visualize your aura, you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like.
You have crystal white and blue around you. That's your aura. That's what I see. That's your aura frequencies, crystal white and blue. So you're tapping into your crystalline essence quite a bit. Are you working with crystals?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's so, I love that you tapped in that. Your abilities are just so beautiful and powerful. And I just always amazed and so grateful and honored to receive these messages, because yes, actually I work with crystals quite frequently, and I have many all over everywhere. And I've actually been told that by a mentor of mine as well. She told me that I have a crystalline energy, and I was like so honored. And that's actually, Spirit has guided me to learn more about the crystalline light body and things like that. And something that I actually just recently learned was that our DNA has silica in it, which is the same mineral that is within crystals, and we share that mineral. So
yeah, and also water frequency. Exactly. Yes. You're right on. Exactly. And it's also about being humble. These abilities, people will say, oh my gosh, this is a great ability. This is great what you can do. Yeah, it's just an ability. It's just part of me. It's just, I don't think of it as anything special or different from anybody else. Just staying humble and respectful and kind towards yourself and others. And not misusing these abilities to spy on others as well.
Yes, that's so important. And yeah, exactly. And I think that you are so humble, and the thing is that anybody can really develop these if they, we all have access to these types of gifts and abilities. Yes. It's just a matter of developing them and trusting yourself, and over time they continue to open up. And
and expand and grow. And you're completely right about the ethics and the morals. I never just go and read somebody without their permission, psychic reading or galactic reading or remote viewing. I do do a general basic reading on anybody that I will be interviewing or planning to or working with as a client. I do a general one to make sure things are good. But if there's something that comes up as red flags, and it did with one individual who I was asked to interview and it couldn't, and I actually did a video about that, saying what the situation is. Again, I didn't mention their name and I was very general. And I had done a deeper remote viewing about them, because Spirit said, have a deeper look. You need to see what's going on, because this is concerning. So I did, because Spirit said it's okay. Like, if Spirit tells you it's okay to have a deeper look at somebody, you just can't talk about it openly. You have to keep it to yourself, or if you do talk about it, don't mention their name or any specifics. That was the only one case where I actually needed to talk about it, because there was a lot of different factors connecting to people's safety and well-being. That's the only time I talked about it.
Yeah, and that's actually something that I learned from you that I think has been really supportive in my journey is being able to generally scan the energy, nothing that was beyond something that I would have to ask permission for. And exactly, if you get permission from Spirit or their guides, to have a deeper look for your own safety and protection, and to make sure that's in alignment and mutually beneficial for both. I think that, that's been really supportive. And I have actually do that with almost anything and everything now, where I really listen and tune in to feel if this is right for me. Like, for example, I had came across like some videos of these interviews of these women who were had a lot of issues. They were really traumatized and they were homeless, and they had all of these like these addiction things like that. And I felt so like sad, and I wanted to do something to help. Like, I really wanted to do something. I was like, maybe my path is to work with women who have trauma and homeless women. And then I felt like really, like, energetically, like I felt really, really sad, and like I almost started to get like physically sick. And I was like, okay, Spirit is telling me that I can help in other ways, that I don't it's not my responsibility to save anybody. We're facilitators, and all the healing is essentially done with their own higher self, their own soul frequency. And so I've been using that to kind of discern, where what is in alignment, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And again, we never violate their free will, choice, or sovereignty. If somebody doesn't give you permission to do a reading on them, you don't. If somebody doesn't want to accept your help, you don't push it on them. You help as best as you can, and we do as much as we can as healers and psychics, but we don't superimpose our own choices and free will thoughts on others.
Exactly.
Because that's controlling somebody else and enslaving somebody else energetically to you. And we don't do that. I never do that. And if somebody doesn't want to work with me, they don't have to work with me. Just make your own choices wisely, and what's right for you and what's not, and what's in between. Have a deeper look in the soul level, because the answers are all there within us. It's about us doing the work, reaching in and doing the shadow work and the light work to be healthy and balanced energetically and physically. People always ask me, what do you mean by doing the work? I'm like, do the work, do the spiritual work, do the energy work, work on yourself for your self-care, for your happiness, for your upliftment of your psychic abilities, of your gifts. That's what it means to do the work.
Yep, exactly. Oh, that's such a beautiful point. I'm so happy you brought that up, because it really is called work for a reason, because it is work. And a lot of it isn't, some of it isn't necessarily fun, when you have to, release all of these traumas or these emotions, or, these pains and these hurts, and heal these wounds. Like, it's not necessarily fun in the moment, and it can be really painful, but the other side of it is so incredibly beautiful and so powerful. And being able to, when you do that work, it truly does raise your soul frequency and your vibration to a level that is, beautiful and powerful, and all these abilities start to come online even more, and you start to be more aware of yourself and what path you're meant to walk. And I have found that, so I love that you brought that up.
And it also helps with physical health, with your soul confidence, with self-esteem, and just stepping into your higher self, into a better vibration.
Oh, I feel like I still have so many more questions, but I know we're going on 2 hours now. But I would love for you to just expand, and please let me know if you I want to be mindful of your time as well. But what is the difference between our soul and our higher self? Is there a difference between?
Yeah. The soul is what you tap in within your intuitive self. The soul helps guide you to keep you safe and happy. It's the inner conversation that you have within yourself. That's the soul. And the soul powers your body. It's the overall maintenance facility, your energy that makes you alive. That's the soul. And the soul is also connected to our past lives, because the soul has gone everywhere that we've gone in any lifetime. So it brings back pieces of us. It has little memories of everything that's happened before in our lifetimes. And you can talk to your soul. You can ask questions for guidance. The higher selves are parts of us above everything, above here. It's the true overall essence. It doesn't have judgment. It doesn't have feelings per se. It just comes with wisdom. The higher self comes in with wisdom to help. And some people have more than one higher self. I have two. And they're actually connected to some of my lifetimes. Sometimes they are, and sometimes they're not. So people ask me, what's my soul name? The soul name can be from another lifetime, or it could just be what you're vibrating with. And it's different from the higher self, because the higher self is more hands-on with you. It talks to you more. The inner soul that's in here, you can approach it and talk with it and have a conversation. Higher self is more like, let's go, let's deal with it. Let's have a full-on conversation. Let's look at everything in your life. What's right, what's wrong. Let's examine it. Let's fix it. Let's give you something good to work with. So higher self gives you a foundation. The soul guides you on your path. Literally, it's your guidance system to help you be on the right path. What do you think the soul is?
It's a great question. I would agree that the soul is vibratory, and it can seem more subtle in terms of like speaking to you. And a lot of it is like the soul has its own signature, and it's almost like the translation of it can't be put into words, because it is more of a frequency and a vibration. And I would say the higher self, I believe I have more than one as well, is like almost like an oversoul that is more direct. I actually agree with your perception of it as well, where the higher self is more direct, and it's less subtle. Like I feel like I can hear it more clearly. Yeah, and I would say that the soul, I see the soul as like a compass as well, guiding you.
And the higher self sometimes has names and personalities and appearances, and sometimes it's just pure frequency. Mine have names, personalities that are similar to mine, but a little higher than mine. And they love to have full-on psychic conversations, and they show me situations. They show me future events. They show me stuff from the past that I still need to work on. They show me a lot. They're like real helpers. They're both female. So they're tapping into the female aspects to help me with the feminine, to be better balanced. And they're helpers, and they always give good advice. They never give me bad advice, because if they do, if the higher self comes in and starts giving you bad advice and tells you nasty things, that's not your higher self. That's a trickster being.
Yep.
Or an entity, because it's not looking after your highest good, and it's not doing what's best for you to help you. It's interfering with your life. The moment that happens, you're not connected to your higher self. Something else is coming in, and it's not of the highest light and not of the highest good. And it needs to go, like block it energetically, physically, just say no, go away, and block it right away.
Yep. Yes, exactly. I've learned to discern that as well. When anything that feels like lower vibration, or that's coming in, that's trying to be like overpowering versus like guiding and gentle and always looking out for the highest and greatest good of myself and all of humanity, then I know that's my higher self. But there's been other times where like they're like I would think it was my higher self, but then I would have to discern and differentiate, like, nope, and I would literally like imagine, like, I would either ask like an archangel to come in and like cut cords, entities, Klingons, to make sure that nothing that is able to, attach to me, or I would energetically imagine like it being pushed away, or I would just say cancel, nope, cancel, cancel, cancel. I do not accept, and that usually.
Yeah, I do the cancel, clear, delete, cancel, clear, delete,
Yes.
cancel, clear, delete 3 times. Because it really does clear out anything. And it's like you have 30 seconds to clear out the garbage. Literally anything that's bad or vibrationally unpleasant. Use just I clear this out, I banish this, I revoke it, I remove it, cancel, clear, delete, cancel, clear, delete, cancel, clear, delete. Just make sure you're using clarity in which you're removing. Whatever that is, just say that first and then cancel, clear, delete 3 times. And that you don't give it permission to ever come back again, and close the energetic door on it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm able to do that now, but in the past, when I was potentially lower consciousness, lower vibration, I didn't understand, and there was a lot of fear. Like I have had sleep paralysis before, and things as a child that have happened, and I didn't realize what it was. But now that I do, that usually works.
Yeah, I've had paralysis as a medical issue because I have hemiplegic migraines. But if I eat better and sleep better and just have a walk outside more, I don't get so many migraines and I don't get the paralysis. Mine was never entity attachment paralysis. It was actually like medical paralysis.
Yeah.
But I know the difference between the two. When entity is trying to paralyze you, it feels very dark and yucky.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Medical paralysis feels like it's just a medical symptom and an issue. There's no darkness behind it. There's no ill will intent to paralyze you. That's how I know the difference between medical paralysis and entity paralysis, or negative ET paralysis. Because I've had instances of medical paralysis, like I know why it's happening, but it's not entity attachment, or it's not negative ETs coming after me. I know it's connected to the migraine stuff, and it's genetic. I know I genetically have it. I did all the testing and I have all the medical proof. So I was like, and it took me 10 years to get to understand that it was a medical thing. It wasn't a soul vibration that I was bad or good or I did something. I blamed myself for it because I couldn't control it. And then once the genetic test came back, I'm like, you have to eat better. You need to drink more water. Don't eat bad things because that's what it's triggered by. So the moment you understand something, you're empowered to help yourself work through it and become healthier.
Yes.
Knowing and understanding is the key to changing something.
100%. I completely agree. It truly is. It truly is. Yeah, and it's like your higher self, or you'll intuitively know what to do in a lot of ways. Like you can tap into that and know what your body needs to heal itself, as long as you listen and apply it and
listen to the soul. Listen to the soul vibration, because I was listening to your soul, not your higher self. I was listening to your guidance system, the soul spark, about your needs for Peru and the roots and the tattoos and symbols of that. I was listening to this, your soul spark. I call it the soul spark. I was listening to that, not the higher self. I could have tapped into your higher self, but your higher self was staying quiet. The higher self said, let the soul tell you the info. So I tapped into your soul self to tell me the info, because your higher self didn't want to come in and give me the info.
Yeah, it's so interesting, because that is I will go to Peru at some point, but it's so funny because I surround myself by Peruvian things all the time. Like I have the mesa right here, and I have all these that were carved in Peru, 12 of them to represent the 12 mountains. They're like little alabaster carvings. They call them chumpis. And I have this from Peru. I actually got this set from Peru. Somebody handmade this and sent it to me, and it fit perfectly on this little doll I knitted. And then, yeah, it's just so interesting. Like I even listened to music of like jaguars and like all of these like tribal type things. So it's so interesting that, you know, there's this, I understand now why I surround myself with.
Yeah. And it was interesting. Your higher self didn't want to talk to me. Your higher self said, go tap into her soul spark. The soul spark will talk to me about the inner guidance that you need. It's like, okay, I'll go to the soul spark. If it's not one way, it's going to come in another way in information. Sometimes people's higher selves don't want to talk to me. Their spirit guides don't want to talk to me for one reason or another, and I honor and respect that. And they'll say, go to the soul spark, or go to that organ or this organ. They'll tell the story. And I'll go to the organs, or I'll go to the soul spark, and I'll ask the questions, because even the organs talk. They'll tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
And the reasons and the whys and the whats and the how and the when and what to do. It's like being a psychic detective, an energy detective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that you brought that in as well, because I just had actually experience with that today in a shamanic healing or journey that I went on for somebody who wanted physical healing or body healing, and the organs did talk to me and told me exactly what she needed, and I relayed that information to her and what she could do to support those organs. And it was just so interesting because you just tap into the frequency of what the organ wants or needs to heal itself, and it will talk to you. It's amazing.
Yeah, and some people call that a medical, intuitive, energetic body scan.
Yes. Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah, I thought about that when that was the first time I've ever done that, because I haven't been asked to do, I'm still new to this. So in terms of doing it for other people, I haven't been asked to do a physical healing and a shamanic journey. And I was like, wow, like it's so interesting, like what you can pick up in terms of medical, advice.
But you're not new to it. It's in the family lineage. Again, your soul is saying to me, yeah, other people in your family line have done the Peruvian shamanic stuff. So it's not new. It's coming back full circle to explore what others have done in your family before, and it's now your turn. So it's not new. Give yourself more credit than that. You're very powerful. You think it's new, but it's not. It's just coming back.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I had a sense of that, but there's I don't know if this makes any difference, but I had had a numerology reading. I'm very curious, so I like to seek out different things and learn about myself on a deeper level and all of that. And I had a numerology reading, and one thing she said was, I'm a life path 1, and she said that I have a very strong inner critic and inner bully, and I get to balance that out with the leader aspect, which I am yet to fully embody, because the self-esteem, confidence issues, I'm still working on that. I thought that was interesting that she mentioned that there's an inner critic and inner bully, and I was like, that is accurate.
That's true. And that's why I said, you're not new to this. Your family lineage, your family line and ancestors have done this before. You're just relearning what they already taught you before. So you've always had this inner knowing how to do it. You're just brushing up on those skills because you're in a human body, having a 3D experience. Same with me. I've been a witch before. I've been a crystal healer, a psychic, a shaman. I've had those lifetimes before. It's just fully remembering the information and reintegrating the knowing and the knowledge, like professionally reintegrating it, so we can better navigate what we already knew, and it's coming back to us.
Yes. Oh, I love that. When I was connecting with the High Council before this, the message that I received was, remember who you are, remember who you are, remember who you are, remember who you are. And I was like, yeah, I'm seeing now why I was being prepared in that way, just to be able to receive these transmissions and give that to the collective as well. I know that whoever's watching this is going to be able, came across this video and this interview for a reason, and there's gems of wisdom and messages for those who are listening.
Exactly. So what is it that you want to do? What's next for you? Your soul wants you to say what's next for you out loud.
What's next for me? a very good question. I would say applying what I've learned. I have decades of experience learning, and I keep, taking course after course and seeking mentor after mentor. And I think now I'm ready to apply what I've learned and fulfill my mission of facilitating the healing of those who need it in the collective at this time.
Mm-hmm. And I always ask folks, what's your inner soul reflection? What's your soul telling you is your next step, your next guidance, your next compass? Where are you going? Where are you heading? Why? When? And those are energetic activations and attunements to get you focusing on what's next for you. And this, you tapped into your soul to tell the true state of what you're going to be doing, where you're going, where your life path is pathing. Like you're literally telegraphing the life pathing of where you're going on your journey. Wow.
Oh, that was so beautiful. I got the chills. Oh, well, thank you, Ileana, so much for these beautiful transmissions. And just, I'm really honored again to have the opportunity to interview and bring these messages to my audience as well, and to those who come across this video. And I would love for you to let the audience know where they can find you if they want to work with you, or if they just want to listen to your interviews, or just, tap into what you have to offer.
Well, thank you. My website is Messages from a Star Traveler, Mystic Arts and Healing. And my YouTube channel is Awakening Cosmic Reality Show. And my email is seekingthetruthinreality@gmail.com. And people can have a look at the website. It's a knowledge library as well about spirituality, universal knowledge. It's not just services, it's other things as well. And if they're interested in a service, have a look as well. My schedule is up there on the website. And they can contact me if they have any questions or want to do something. Please have a look. Yeah.
Yes, I love it. Thank you so much. I highly suggest you guys check out her website and her the Awakening Cosmic Reality Show, because it's amazing. There's so many gems, and it's amazing. And I'll leave all of the links to all of her things in the description below. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I appreciate you all, sending so much love, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.